Good morning. How are you this morning? I hope that you guys are doing well. Let me start off with a question. So, have you thought about the human nature and how is it like a nature of a human being? Um, we already studied about how to help others, and then there is understanding of a human being, and based on the theory, they developed the counseling method, right? And try to help the people who are going through the problems and who has the psychotic or whatever typical issues, and then try to help them to get out of the situation and then live a life as a human being. So a lot of the understanding human nature is different, right? Last time we talked about the Freud, right? Psychoanalysis, and then how we saw that how they approach to understand the human being, especially the nature of the human being. That is kind of that understanding is totally different from others. Not totally different, even though they start put together, but later on, some scholars and then get out of the psychoanalysis and then try to develop and even establish their own method, like Alfred Adler. And Adler's understanding of human beings a little different, so he developed the personality theories, and he developed other stuff to understand the human being, and that's why a little bit different from those Freud, and then we call individual psychology. And if you take this kind of understand individual psychology, then it should really focus on the individual. Not right. It's a part of it. But it's not, it doesn't mean individual psychology, But individual psychology is really take what's the they try to understand the human being is like try to overcome the inferiority field, the feeling of inferiority, and then try to strive for what superiority to be successful, right? That is a basic motivation and the understanding of a human being. So, individual psychology is a kind of psychological method in science, founded by the Adler, right? Alfred Adler. He's a psychiatrist, he's not a psychologist, and this is it's a individual Adler kind of broke the relationship with Freud, and then he developed his own 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 understanding of human being. And last time we talked about the psychoanalysis is really deterministic and influenced by the around environment, and human being human beings develop the issues with their environment, but always sometimes it's nothing, but still we have all the bottom of unconsciousness, right, in human mind. So they saw that there was a conscious level, unconscious level between the pre-conscious levels, right? And that is the understanding of human being, but they are really emphasized on sexual drive and really aggressiveness, and then they really you kind of understand understand human being through the both that kind of concept. But individual psychology is a little bit different from that. it's try to individual as a whole. It's not a part of a human being that under the society, in the society, under the kind of system, under the family system or social system, it's not a part of that. Human itself is as a whole that they try to understand. And so it's not just focus on the individual, okay? So that is really focus on individual human being as a whole, right? That's why we call individual psychology. So here is the individual psychology does not mean focus on the individuals. At the adolescent, one must take into account the patient's whole environment. So what influence human being about their behavior, normal behavior or abnormal behavior. So people, patient associated with, and then any kind, right? To try to see, especially, they really emphasize in family system. And so, individuals, you cannot divide, this is part, and this is human being, and as a whole, in dividable whole, right? That's try to understand the human being. And this one is, even though it's a psychoanalysis, from the psychoanalysis, but they kind of set a relationship with the psychoanalysis, but still, like, really, they still, human beings are influenced by the what? From the, they developed from the childhood, right? And then right now and future, everything is trying to put together. That's why a little bit different from the psychoanalysis. So it's really emphasized the importance of overcoming the feelings of inferiority. And what is inferiority? Just think about it, and you have a little bit kind of inferiority, and some, we know the kind of word, and people are kind of stuck with kind of feeling of inferiority. So sometimes people have a jealousy, sometimes envy, sometimes it's too much, and then you don't have a good self-esteem, right? You don't have any confidence. That's why how can we overcome the feelings of inferiority? So everybody is not perfect, but just think about someone who's really excellent in studying, and excellent in sports, and excellent in any kind of area that I cannot. How do you feel? Honestly speaking, oh wow, they are really good. What about me, right? Automatically, how can we are thinking about how I cannot be like them, and how I can be like that, and then just think we think about a lot. Sometimes it's impossible, and we had a daydream though. Oh, if I play like that, and if I'm like someone, and so we have kind of daydreams, a lot of things we can do. That is one of the way that kind of that's one of human nature. I kind of, when I see myself, and maybe I don't know you guys, and you don't have any kind of desire to strive to be successful, and desire strive for the superiority, and then nowadays, and then maybe they are really good people and really kind mind, but just think about human being, and nowadays think about the political systems and political leaders, and then in Sri Lanka, it's finally about the family ruled, over 20 years with the dictatorship, and finally he flew to Singapore and resigned, right? If he resigned early, he might not go out and escape from the country, right? And then he flew first, and then he get there and resigned. What about the European countries? And British prime minister resigned, and then what is another Italian? There's a lot of things going on, but still, why they want to become like have power? Why want they have a political leadership in a country? Right? Why you want to get a good job? Why do you want to study? Why do you want to? Yeah, there's a lot of reason, right? And another emphasis is what? Gaining sense of belonging, achieve success, and to achieve success and happiness. That's the kind of a strive for superiority. Some people just think about if you have more than others, and then maybe you can do more than others, not all the time, but sometimes there is something that you cannot do with the money, right? But a lot of things nowadays is in material society, if you have more than others, and then you can do a lot of things, really. That's what we call they are really happy and they are really successful. But not really though. Sometimes even though you have a lot of things in the world, and you cannot buy something with the money. Right? Yeah, you can do it, but sometimes it's hard. That's what I'm learning nowadays. And then people really ignore and look down people because they don't have enough, and then always kind of consider them not already kind of left the people kind of out, and then but still, even though they don't have money, they don't have enough possession, but still they have a good heart. That people have more than people have money, right? Anyway, that is a basic understanding of a holistic approach, and overcoming the feeling of the inferiority, and then kind of gaining sense of belonging, which is to be successful, right? Happy. So theory really also focus on the importance of social interaction and community involvement in how can explain how people are growing. So really think about the inner motivation is really important, and then the other side, social interactions is really important. Because the environment provides opportunities to grow and to develop themselves. So this is a basic Adler's and theory in individual psychology. So really, the individual psychologists emphasize the individual needs for connection and belonging. Just think about society right now. It's about early 19s, and then still strive to overcome the feeling of inferiority, right? That is the basic human being's nature. So if you think about the human being's nature in in the light of the biblical perspective, and then it's a different. Maybe this approach is that what gives a lot of credit to human beings, but if you see yourself in the light of the Bible, in terms, by the biblical perspective, and what human beings are really different. Yeah, that's the little bit different. My perspective is different from his perspective, and then even though perspective is different, there's some areas kind of associated and connected and common point is there, and how can we strive as a human being? That's maybe method is different, but still there's interaction with the community, interaction with others and communities really helpful because human being are social being, right? That's why. So yeah, you gotta keep that in mind, two things, right? It's kind of a little bit repeated, and but still understanding of human being and understanding of how individuals are influenced by the social context, right? Maybe interaction with others and social structures and other things. Also, human nature. How Adler, how did Adler understand what human nature? And here it is, and Adlerian's concept of social interest. Maybe we're gonna talk about social interest a little bit later, and feeling of inferiority, and a little bit later. That's a basic concept, and I think I put the slide, different area, and as the individual feeling of being is about part of a whole. So they spending the individuals understand what in the past, from the past, in the present, and what is the future. How can we understand human being? And just not a human being kind of determined by the past experience, but still we want to do something, right? And that one is kind of motivate human being and try to develop themselves, and in the process of the developing and there is a personal growth, right? And that is people are mainly motivated toward the feeling of belonging, but if you don't, what happens? If you are, and then what happens is different. So social interest is not just it's not given, innate, but still it's from the social relationship with others, you're gonna learn and train about it, right? And so Adler understand the humans try to become successful and overcome the area that they perceive as inferior. That is a basic human being, but the personal growth is a process as a struggle for perfection. Maybe people have a different standard of life, and then just think about some people really be really good at some up to point. It depends on what is your standard of life. Some people are really happy with the hamburger, right? Some people say that okay, that's not good for human, and that's not good for my and they want to have sushi maybe better than hamburger. But happiness is not depends on how they eat, how they have, what they have, right? But still, whether you have less, whether you have more, and whether you eat different things, but still, how can you sense that your belongingness? That is a really important thing, right? So communities is really important. Yeah. So here is the those did not overcome the feeling of inferiority developed what inferiority complex. I mean okay, I'm not good as good as others, and I said no confidence and kind of always kind of withdraw from society and social relationships. And what about people who really those who over kind of compensate for the feeling of inferiority with the superiority complex? Oh, really cocky? I'm better than them. Probably, maybe also racial supremacy. Yeah. That's why it's if you don't resolve the problem and if you overcompensate, then what happens? So, yeah. But Adler really focus on the device, not an unconscious level, it's a very conscious level. It means that cognitive process that we sort of want to be this is psychoanalysis, from the psychoanalysis, but still his approach is very close to cognitive counseling theories because he emphasized conscious mind. So emphasize personal responsibility for how individual choose, interpret, and adjust the life event and situation depends on. If you have really bad experience, maybe when you were in childhood, maybe 10 years ago, I don't know how impact on people. Depends on your attitude about under the event. Someone maybe if you don't have kind of a healthy, healthy self-esteem is developed by the overcoming the feeling of inferiority. And what happened? Maybe passive and negative attitude, and what? It really create something, angers and anxieties and depression and all kind of things. But if you have a different aspect, even though they were hard and it's really hard to get through, but still, if you have a different attitude, oh yeah, it's really bad, but you consider the other side of your life. Maybe this one motivated me to go to more than this, and then I can get that one in the future. Like, just think about past, present, and so individuals have a responsibility to interpret and adjust to the past and present, right? The experience, event. Really, really focus on human beings, presence and conscious level. So think about if you don't adjust to the new environment and event, and what happened, and result in the lack of a social interest and person grow. It means that it's hard to get along in the society. It's hard to get a good relationship with others. Right? And Adler believed there was a misbehavior to take place when person had become discouraged. Misbehavior, right? That maybe or when positive attempts at good behavior failed to get the needed result. Blame others, blame societies, systems. That's why he said people misbehave. Hard to understand, right? And just think about nowadays a kid they are talking about as last year January, and they the big group of people, was a group of people invade in the White House. Something happened. Still they are investigating, right? Why they do? Why did they do? Really discouraged by the result of the vote, right? Voting result. Yeah, so he said that encouragement to good behavior was often recommended by antidote to the misbehavior. That's why a lot of I don't know whether you guys have read about books and encouraged by something and encourage change behavior there's a lot of books, and Beijing actually is better than the punishment, but depends on the culture though, right? And when I look through his understanding of human being, and then what about the cultural perspective? Maybe he's based on his studying, observing and studying about the European context, right? It's not from the collective society context, like Asian countries and Middle East countries. Anyway, so there is we understand what is a human being, right? So really giving a lot of credit to human being, taking responsibility to also how they choose, interpret and adjust. Depends on depends on you. It's not, even though you are influenced by the social context, influenced by the others, but still you have your own responsibility. That is a really different understanding of human being. But I don't know whether you guys can compare with the biblical context, biblical point, understanding of a human being, and then human beings cannot do any good, right? It depends on there's two maybe three perspective on human natures, and then human beings are good, maybe neutral or bad. Human being itself cannot produce any good. That is bad. When you study philosophy through the whole area, maybe Western philosophy is different from the Eastern philosophy, maybe Chinese philosophy and Korean philosophy, and it depends on depends on the what is philosophy, school of philosophy, and then they understand it differently. So anyway, so individual psychology gives a lot of credit to human being, right? Just think about how can we choose to do right, interpret right, and kind of adjust in right way. I mean that which is what healthy way. That's why it's kind of a complication is there, and then if you self is kind of hurt in the past, and then when even though they try to deal with it's kind of by the Freud perspective, and still gives a lot of influence, and still you don't resolve the event, and all kind of things are still there at your unconscious level. That's a different understanding. But I want to see that kind of different perspective of human beings, and even though people kind of people see a lot of different way and comment in different way, and but still to think about yourself, myself. And I cannot say myself, oh, this is a Christian read and defined by some characters, blah, 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 blah. But there is maybe tons of characters. Depends on the situation, I react differently. I respond differently. Sometimes my thought is changing compared to 10 years ago, 10 years ago, right? Maybe Adler said, "Oh, you are growing. You have more, broad and kind mind, open-minded, kind and open-minded, whatever. That's a growth process, and then you are growing. That's why. Then maybe that's the Adler's concept, but still, we cannot define the human beings like this, only one. It's a lot of different characteristics and aspects that depends on the individuals, because they grew up in different environment. They grew up in also different education, and just a lot of factors. What about your own factors that innate, right? Innate. So that's the basic understanding of human being, but he has another concept. So you gotta explain the past, right? You gotta explain the present. And then you gotta explain the future in Adam's perspective. That's also teleologies the purpose of life, pursuing the purpose of life. That's it means that individuals are influenced by the future goals as by past experience, which is same. Right? That's a kind of the teleology helps to understand human being. That's another, that's why Adler tried to see the human beings past, present, future. Another, his concept is to understand the human being, because he's very, families are very important because they learned about social interaction. social interaction from start inside the family. So family is a great institute to socialize, right? People socialize with others. So he tried to understand the people as the birth order. You are the firstborn, or secondborn, or thirdborn, and fourthborn, and whatever, only child, like this. And birth order influence what their personalities. I know, so usually, even though it's not a scientific, and we talk about a lot, and she's first child, and he's the first child, and just think about your culture, my culture, and your first child, and then male or female, a little bit different, but male is what? Man is the first child, but I don't know right now, but always, okay, we gotta take care of the parents when they get old, right? So usually the firstborn, firstborn of the male in the family, later on, usually they live with the parents. Well, it's kind of, so nowadays a lot of different understanding, but Adler studied how birth order influence their personalities. Here is kind of a summary, and what is the oldest children in the family? Usually high achievers and parent pleaser. They know how to deal with the parents, so try to follow the parents' way, and then parents are happy. What do you think? Do you agree with it? This Adler's perspective and conforming, maybe, and just I'm a pioneer instead of being a pioneer and still always follow, conforming, right? Follow and well behaved. Some of them is like even though there is cultural difference, and then it's understandable, right? I'm not a first child, and then there's the oldest child, right? Oldest child in the family. What about the secondborn in the family? Secondborn is more outgoing, it's more socialized, and then expressive more, right? And get along with others more, and less anxious and less constrained by rule compared with their first child. Then the firstborn, right? They usually excel as a whole, what the firstborn does not. Maybe we call that, they learn from their sisters or brothers, and then they don't want to make the same mistake, and then better. Not always, but everybody has a different talent. My old one, I have two daughters, and I don't want to kind of compare who is better, who is not, and try to, I always told them, and they have a different talent and different perspective of life. And then my older one, she has more musical talent. My younger one, with the result of how they do it, right? And then my younger one, so maybe she has more academic abilities. But just that is also based on the result, right? Just think about all this thing, how much they time on the study, how much time. Just we gotta compare with that one, but we don't do usually. And you have a child, 2, 3, 4. I don't know if you have a child, and then think about how much time they spend on the area. So, okay, every day 3 hours spent on the music, how they develop the music skills, right? And then we gotta see. But sometimes she's not interested in more study, but she's interested in music and spend more time. That's true, right? She's more spend more time on music and she's much better. But she's spend just think about she doesn't another one. She just spend less time on studying and grades not that good as younger one. It's different. Their interest is different, right? So second born, he said, let's make a mistake. Then first child did, and what? And what? Usually excel as what the firstborn does not. The second child. What about middle children? And just if you have two, and just the first and second you can compare. If you have three and there's 3 and 4 and there's a middle child, maybe third and fourth may be different, right? But middle children have a feeling of what? Being squeezed in, kind of between, right? You gotta learn the survival skill between. Oldest one is the first one. Always family, parent is really attached to what? The oldest one. Sometimes the youngest one so cute and they kind of spend a lot of time with the kids and they know how to deal with the kids, and then times went by and the youngest one is always praised by parents and then loved by parents. A little bit different from first child. But middle children have a feeling of being squeezed in and are concerned with perceived unfair treatment. Did you get? Depends on the family culture, but that is observation of the Adler's, and then he developed a theory, and that's true. I can see my wife has one brother and two sisters. One is older and younger, and my wife is middle. And oldest one is brother. But compare with the 3 sisters, and then I can see. And who was a parent gives kind of gave more favor to whom? First or youngest? So those children learn to excel in family politics and negotiation. As a middle child needs to survive. Right? That's why. But they cannot become very manipulative. Who can say, and this position also tended to develop area of success than that are not enjoyed by their siblings. They need to survive. That's a middle children. I don't know, just think about who you are. I'm the youngest one. And the youngest child is here, and youngest child is the most apt to pleasing or entertain the family. Not really, it's not my personality. I don't wanna be in front. I want to do something behind always. And even though I was really good at something, but I don't want I don't want boast myself. That's my personality though. So if my family kind of brag about me and I kind of withdrew. Anyway, it's a little bit different. So that's why maybe youngest child are really loved by parents. Now, why they run the risk of being spoiled? Now, they are really spoiled. Parents know how to do the kids, and yeah, they don't think about much. Yeah, thing is, youngest one always learn from the other siblings and how can make a family happy, how to make parents happy, right? They are also most apt to getting what they want through their social skills and ability to please. It's a different level of the second child and different, right? So middle child is kind of manipulative, and but this one is it's not a family, parent pleaser, but still, I think it's more than that. First child, right? Yeah, they are often high achievers because of the role models of the older siblings. I'm the youngest child, but I don't know. Maybe it's like high achievers and higher standard of life, and because maybe my religion contributed kind of developing the kind of standard of life, and but still I can see the kind of perfectionism in me, and but still before God, and I know who I am. I'm sinner. People say that I do the kind of bad. I didn't show the bad behavior, but still really decent, and people really. Once one old man came to me, and we talked for a while, and at at the range we practiced golf together, and then he's really old, and then he said, "You never bow with your knife." No, I said no. You don't know who I am. I was smiling and trying to be gentle, and they don't know who I am, right? That is the kind of tricks. And so it's hard to tell, but still, even though environment, social context is different, and environment different, and personalized, innate, their personality is different, and just think about personality. Not every personality formed by the environment. Some are formed by yeah, or generic. So whether you agree or not, in one of your theory that he tried to explain the human beings through as a birth order. And what about the only child? Only child. Maybe one of you guys the only maybe only child in your family. And here's a picture that I got, and then only child there is middle child and last born and first born, and even though there is no the second, only child is what's the center of the attention always, because there is no kids in the family, and mature for their ages, and always seek approval. Can I do like maybe kind of affirmation? Because he's the only one. And really sensitive to other things, people's, and because always attention. So if we go to school and the attention goes to others, and kind of sensitive, because always the only child had attention, right? It's really sensitive, and maybe they could be leader, and they may be really confident because always seeking the approval, and acknowledged and approved by parents and teachers and others, and then that's why it's really confident. it's not all the time, but yeah. And was really conscientious, open to others, and really responsible, because sometimes they are pampered by parents, but still, well, they need to take care of others. They can, the older child cannot learn from the siblings. Sometimes a perfectionist, because only can see in themselves, and there's no lot of people kind of struggling in life, in family, especially in siblings. Yeah, that is kind of a characteristic of the birth order, and then depends on your family culture. That was a characteristic may be different. Depends on your family culture. Just think about it. Societal culture is there, and then there was a culture and influence all the area of life, but still there is a subcultures there. Depends on what group you belong to, right? There's a Korean cultures here, but general, and we consider what is in some productions and trend, and right, what is how they form the cultures. We consider a lot of customs, and right, but still there's a lot of subcultures. If you go to different province, and they have their own cultures, eating is different, and they behave different. Sometimes the intonation is the same language, but intonation is different. But another areas kind of they use their own language, right? Different. But a little bit narrow down to family. My family is different from other family, right? Especially, since I grew up with single mother, and then they married, they happy, and they have children, but my father, he's kind of left the home, but he lived with another woman around the area, and then still he kind of stopped by home and helped to work, but not that much, but still kind of relationship though. And just think about the family. There is a kind of role models, and they really love each other, family, parents, and they help each other and raise the kids in different way that from the society doing, but really involved in children's life, not just pushing and not giving a lot of pressure, right? Try to find the kids' talent and ability and try to support. It's totally different. So that is kind of general guide for understanding the birth order, but not absolute, right? Of course. So I already told you, so family as the basic socialization unit for children, and children's interpretation of the event in their life was determined by what? Interaction with the family members. People are the age of 5. I don't know. People age of 5, and then how much you know if you are really focus on the cognitive and cognition and cognitive psychology. I don't know. At that time, maybe influenced by that, but still after that people are still developing and cognitive level, cognition and in, in, intelligence, and then very different though. But he said people the age of 5. And another side, it means that how important their state of life for people, age of 5, right? And I don't remember anything. I just remember one thing, really, I don't know, a hopeful memory. And I have older brothers, and he is 3 years older than I am. And recently I found out that I had same birthday with him, so in lunar calendar, and then I still remember memory with him one scene, that's all. But we play, and then he threw the kind of stone, little stone, threw away, and then someone got hit by the stone, and then she cried. I just have one memory though. Under 4, before 5, he was it was, I think I was 4 years old around, I don't know, maybe. My brother passed away when he was 7 years old. Yeah. But he said that he said it was before the 5, and then it was a family relationships are really important and influence a lot on the children, right? But time that even though the children's world is very small, right? We don't know how much they understand, but usually it's hard to judge or even with the whole situation. That's why their judgment and learning is really subjective. Yeah, very subjective. So there is some other suggest some guidance to see the children's behavior, and here is really, and maybe there is make some problem, and then this is Beijing misunderstanding, misbehavior from the children. Here is, and then overgeneralizing in which individual believes that everything's the same or alike, right? Generalizing, and there is a kind of tendency of nowadays, I don't know, a lot of people, sometimes we talk about all the time and never and always, and kind of, the word is implies overgeneralizing. Here is another, that is a kind of lead to misbehavior, and then because children don't understand our reality. What about the false or impossible goal of security that leads the individual try to please everyone in seeking security and avoiding danger? False or impossible goals. Maybe some of them, they just think about and pretend to be something and stick on there until he find out, right? That is probably one. Try to everyone in seeking security and avoiding dangers, conflicts. Think about inside family. And I want to be, for the Asian families, I want to become a doctor, but even though she's not going to study, and maybe, he's not going to study, and he doesn't spend much time on studying, and it's a lot of things to do that, but still, I want to be a doctor, and parents has hope. Okay, you gotta do this one, this one. Sometimes pampered and spoiled because, oh, my child, and maybe some kids are really good at study, and I want to become something, and then, well, someone, and then parents are really happy and proud of it. But what if there is an impossible goal for the who's not good, and what's impossible, what's false goal of life, right? I know someone's and keep pursuing the different things, and then but there's their life, and then try to find their way. And what is a perception of life, and life demands leads to individual to expect more accommodation that is reasonable, and interpret their value to get accommodation is never getting any praise. Misinterpret your perception of life. That's big. Even though your children sometimes they don't know reality of life and always dreaming about ideals sometimes, and misperception, and then make a misjudgment, right? And doing wrong things. But they're kind of missing, there's a misperception or the life demand, and this seems better for everybody, and better for themselves, and better for parents, and that's why. But they don't calculate the reality of life, right? And try to take the always misperception is here, but with a lot of different way of understanding it, try to rationalize this perception, right? Keep going wrong way. We cannot say wrong and right, but still, there's a way there. What about minimization or denial of one's worth, and result in the individual believing that they cannot succeed in life? Who doesn't have good self-esteem? That's a defense mechanism in Freud, but still, that kind of attitude make a misbehave in children's life. What about faulty values? Faulty values? Result in the neighbor's mentality with little or no regard to others. Really selfish, self-centered. What about the values? That is so, sometimes, I don't know, maybe societal values changes, societal value changes, and personal value changes, and then long time ago, think about, and no, different culture has a different value system, right? And just think about, and I don't know, whether it was 10 years ago, and we go to other places on vacation, and there's a lines there. And people from the European countries, they don't mind. I experience. Usually we are really good at lining, waiting, right? Like a Disneyland. And even though it's a long line, sometimes if you're gonna get a ride, you gotta wait 1 hour, sometimes 2 hours. But nowadays, if you are in line, keep delaying. Somebody said, I don't know how they cut in. Value is different though, right? Long time ago, Japanese kind of so really honest and considering others, and you got they deserve. But nowadays, me first, and just cut in. I don't mind behind, just traffic. Sometimes driving too. They always, people are waiting little by little, but always go. They know which kind of and where is they cut in and go to their way. They try to make a big traffic sometimes, but they don't care. But they don't think about, oh, I'm not wrong. But it's not wrong, but sometimes they took a lot of people's time on the street, right? That's really self-centered. They know that the traffic, even though they don't know, there is no cutting and still, it's a lead time, there's a lot of cars, there's a traffic, and they calculate, come out a little earlier, less sleep, and come out earlier, and then it means that it's related to their time, right? But people who are cutting the line and driving and kill their times, their sleeps and all things. That's the values. What about Adler's Lordlandcolligy or the willingness to take risk without knowing the outcome, right? And that's the life. And what happened? People don't consider the possible consequences. You gotta know. Maybe someone's really good. What if you don't? I try to teach my kids, and then they are always positive. That's good. Or you can do, So I can do it. Okay, you can do it. So what if you cannot do it? But you are so negative. You are so critical. That's true. But you gotta consider if you don't make what consequences you're gonna face. Right? So he believed that a person with a healthy lifestyle contributed to society and had a meaningful work and had intimate relationship with others. And so he may have cooperation with the others, right? Instead of competing each others. So that's a healthy lifestyle is really important. And it's not for self, but always think about self and being in the context of a society and environment. And to live a life together. It's not for myself. And that's a really important thing. So healthy lifestyle, how can you overcome the feeling of inferiority, and then how can you strive for superiority to be, which is to be happy and successful, right? And here is a feeling of inferiority that I got, and inferiority, maybe we don't have to talk about that, but still, intense personal feeling of inadequacy, of resulting in belief that one is in some way deficient and inferior to others, right? And according to the Adler, may be brought about upbringing as a child. For example, is being constantly compared unfavorably to a sibling. Okay, why don't you do it like your sibling, right? Your sibling is good at something, and why don't you do that like this? I try to not to do that. And so, look at this, and physical and mental limitation or the experience of the low social status. Like an example, being treated unfavorably by one's peers. It's a lot of different reasons. So, and body shames in America, that's a little bit different from the other countries, right? Like this, and then may cause individual to overcompensate in a large number of ways, right? That's why they developed what? Superiority. And may also cause individual to be prone to splash outward displays and with behavior range from the attention seeking to excessive competitiveness and aggressions. If they don't resolve the feeling of inferiorities. Now, I have a friend, so inferiority complex, and he's a really nice man. He has good heart, and he graduated from the one of the Ivy schools, and then college, and then he got into one of the medical school in Ivy College, and then, but still, I think he was not acknowledged by his parents, or maybe usually parents, think that one of the children is studying school and they are okay, and maybe they always assuming that, oh, my kids can go to Harvard, especially in Asian communities, and then he failed to get into Harvard, and instead he goes out of school, and then he's kind of I think he wanted to acknowledge by parents his ability, but still dealing a lot of stuff, and then he didn't go to medical school, and instead of going to medical school, he chose different things, and then he was pretty successful, and then he had really insight on business, and then he's really successful, and he already become a millionaire. But he's always seeking approval from others. That's one of the examples that who really didn't overcome the feeling of inferiority. Even though they are really good, and they cannot satisfy, and they cannot give credit themselves. That's a feeling of inferiority. So it's hard to deal with, right? What about social interest? We said that social interest is really leads to a healthy lifestyle. If you overcome and developing the superiority in the right way, overcome the feeling of it, and social interest is a feeling of a community, and was a orientation to live cooperating with others, and lifestyle that values the common good above one's own interest and desire. That's a social interest. How can we strive together for superiority as a communities? That is the social interest based concept, right? And it leads to healthy lifestyle. And it also been conceptualized active interest in the welfare of humankind. It's not only previously we saw the slide and faulty values and me first, but it's not always think about society and humanity. And identification and empathy with others. That's the values about when around towards and Adler's period, the time period. And social interest is as of being predictive of individual adjustment and psychological health, right? It's not about strive to be successful together with others. And here is Parent-child relationship and family lifestyle affect the development of social interest, contention which is being supported by research. Of course. Your parents, the parents' values are really influence on children's values. Their lifestyle, they can see, they learn from the parents because parents are modeling of life. And that's a really important thing. And then, I don't know, just your relationship with your parents and how they develop, how they coming, and I don't know how you guys are struggling with, what you guys are struggling with, but still, that's social interest, and so really not me-centered and also not selfish, but still think about community and humanity, right? And social interest protect individual against the feeling of inequality and promote better coping and healthier attitude toward the stressful situation. That's by research. If you have healthy lifestyle, social interest. And here is Richardson and Manaster by their research that the idea of social interest is intended to inspire the way of life that counters such disconnectedness and helplessness with a sense of wider belonging and purpose. So Adler emphasized what inadequate development of social interest by children and adolescence stage leads to psychological difficulty in adulthood. Sometimes, I don't know, the society is changing and society values are changing, and sometimes it was a good long time ago, but not now. If you do it that way, you already see it, like people saw that, see it, right? But still, like early 1900s and the end of the 1800s, and look at the society values. But nowadays, a lot of people emphasize the social interest, like in terms of Adler, like Christians too. But a lot of Christians, they don't develop the social interest in a healthier way, and it's kind of it's a really bad influence on community and Christian community, and as well as non-Christian communities. There is a social interest, so we got a basic concept. We got to know that what is a social interest. It's not for yourself, for the community and for the humanity. And what about this? What about the inferiority, feeling of inferiority? What is that one? How it impact on the life, right? So how can we help the people with this counseling? There is both stage of adrenaline therapies, and here is kind of it's reproduction. It's from association with the Alfred Adler Institute of Northwestern Washington. There is association, and then there is developed how can we help the people. Here is first stage, and you gotta know and you gotta have a right relationship with the client who has a problem, right? So offer the warm welcoming and try to understand what their problem, understand them and their situation, and try to feel, oh, you could, yeah, accept, yeah, feel towards the clients accepted, and then give them a hope and all kind of, yeah, and just basically build up the right relationship with the client, right? If just if client don't trust the therapist or counselor, and then it's hard to work together. That's why the first stage is very important. So create, cooperate, working relationships. What about the second stage? We call the information, and sometimes with assessment, we gotta know what the issues in life. Whereas the first stage is kind of we call the empathy and relationship, but other people say the engagement. How can you engage with and develop the right relationship for the therapy? So, and we gotta listen to all the histories and current situation and past, and if you have some question, and you gotta assess. Give them assessment, what is the problem? So here's the information, gathers structured, relevant information and details of a presenting problem and life task and what? Early childhood influence and the memory, everything, and then what? Therapist give them what? Assessment information. Maybe if you talk and then evaluate and what? Talk about them, maybe know that they agree. Sometimes if they don't agree, it's hard to get, right? And that is kind of, you're going to analyze their lifestyles, how they develop, right? Related to social interest and all things. What is it? The third stage is a clarification, another was the insight, and then therapist, clarify the vague thinking and some questioning. In adult therapies, the question is very important. Like Socratic question, and then it's not giving them what answers, but keep asking and asking, and what, and through the answering, you try to find understanding, and that one is a Socratic questioning. Evaluate the consequence of ideas and actions, and sometimes that's one of the problems, that they don't think about the consequences and right realities. Consequences always hopeful and positive, and sometimes that's why we have problems. And then, but if you hear and during the counseling, if you do this way, and what you're gonna face, right? How hard and why you need to do it like this, and that's why there's kind of contract there you need to do, but anyway, clarify what they need to do and what's gonna face, and in the counseling, during the counseling, so helps client correct mistake ideas about self and others. That's a clarification. Then, and what about the last one? And encouragement, and keep doing and maybe successful and fail, successful fail, and help agent generate an alternative way. That's why stand with client, and then moves in a new direction away from the lifestyle. Your lifestyle this way and moves the other way. And clarifies your feeling about effort and result. And then how affect your life, how change your feeling, how gives you different change your feelings, and then just a sharing and encourage them, and then just kind of reorientation and change the direction of your lifestyle. There is a basic kind of what is the therapy stage, 4 stage of Adler's stage, the therapy, right? And yeah, you can still really focus on the what? Focus on the cognitive. Not you're not you don't give them everything, give them answers and try to realize and then and think about and let them responsible for what they choose, right? So counselor is like the roles as what diagnosticians and what teachers and models, maybe, right? But not the the counselor help the client explore what conscious thought, what you are thinking, and what belief and logical behavior that are not in the client's best interest or social interest. You gotta know, you gotta explode in the what, even though you don't like, but if you avoid and if you deny in the what, you cannot solve the problem, right? Client needs to face what their problem, and but the client-counsel relationships are equal. One with the counselor shows an insight, impression, and opinion, feeling with the client to promote the therapy relationship. It's not just I'm a therapist, I'm going to give you what? Therapeutic answers, method? No. It's kind of equal one, right? Okay, I'm the therapist, but still guide you and help you. We are the same person, right? That's a little bit different. So therapy is the cognitive, cognitive with the emphasis on examining the faulty logic and empowering the client taking responsibility to change it through the re-education process, right? It's really cognitive. They need to know and acknowledge the problems and what is the hope and goal. And still counselor empowered the client to move on, but still, okay, if you choose this one, what is the consequence? If you choose this way, and then let them, understand, let them choose, for themselves. So that's related to the techniques, and then always what if. There is questions of what if questions is one of your techniques, but provide and sometimes and client as a teacher and then give them homework assignment. Okay, you for this one you're gonna do this one and do homework, right? Try to do this one this week and then coming back and show how they feel, why they feel in the way. It's a desire for the client or it's not. So So, Adlerians really eclectic in techniques. I mean, you could do different things together, and then but really emphasize encouragement and responsibility. You gotta take responsibility for your life like this, right? What about the goal? Goal of the counseling. Helping the client develop a healthy lifestyle and social interest. We are living together with the others, right? That is a goal. So counselor assisting the client with our goal of the therapeutic process. Establishing establish therapeutic relationship, examine the lifestyle, and develop the new insight and changing behavior, right? What is the consequences and what is the better way to shift their lifestyle. Here is some techniques that they use and establishing rapport, and then just think about it's not a formal talking, it's really informal talking, and but still building up the relationship rapport. And and that's rapport is really important. Defining the lifestyle, and what kind of lifestyle they have, and what is the insight. Mean that we saw that what is the insight, what is the problem and assessment, and how can you do that, right? That's information. That is a really important thing. So kind of establishing rapport, and then and kind of also forming the relationships are really important. And what about the technique? Another technique is about confrontation. Okay, consists of challenging the client to private logic behavior. Confrontation. A lot of people try to avoid and they try to deny. But confrontation, you gotta know the problem, and then you gotta choose this one, and then you gotta know that if you don't take this way, and what's the consequences? If you take it this way, what's the consequences, right? And that's a responsibility for them. You gotta confront, don't avoid. You're not gonna. That's really cognitive. What about asking questions like Socratic questions, and give them try to find the answer by themselves, and like this, and then how their life would be different if they were well, and the question is about patient, what will be the problem if the child were not in the problem, and then keep asking questions. And think about let them think the process. That's the question technique is really important. We already know the encouragement, supporting their client, right? And so try to kind of staying their belief in the client, ability to take responsibility and change their behavior. That is the encouragement. Okay, you can do it. You can do it, right? What about acting as if? It's not real, but as if, as if it's instructing the client behave, as if there is no problem, like as if, the person that the client would be like, right? As if. Kind of want to be acting though, so let them get a kind of insight of the problem, and then okay, maybe change it to another way to get out of the trouble situation. Here is another one, the spilling in the client soups. It means that the counselor point out the purpose of the client behavior. Afterwards, the client may continue to the behavior, but cannot do so without being aware of their motivation for the engaging behavior. Okay, so exactly we're gonna know what's the problem, and point out the purpose of client behavior, right? And then help them keep continue and improve, And what about the catching oneself? catching oneself is kind of helping the children to learn, bring destructive behavior into awareness of and stop it. Right? We're gonna know the what sort of behavior that really hurtful and distracting self, and then let them bring out, and then aware and let them stop. Catching self, oneself. What a task setting. Task here consists of helping the client short-term goals leading toward the attaining of the long-term goal. Okay, there's a long-term goal is there, and just maybe one day you cannot change your whole habit and thinking system. But okay, this week you're not going to try to get there way. And next, like the short-term goal is every week and every month, and then that task setting, right? In other words, there's maybe another word is kind of pushing button technique, and there's a pushing button, and I don't know whether you guys tried, and there's a three phases, and first the client asked to close their eyes and recall pleasant memories, time with the day felt happy and loved and successful, and then just think about it. And second phase, client asked to close their eyes and record unpleasant memories, right? In the opposite way from. And third phase, and then client asked to retrieve other pleasant memory, or to return to the one used in phase one. And they record the memory in specific detail and strong focus on the positive feelings, and then after they have relieved the present memory and positive feeling, client instructed to open their eyes and think about how they feel. How they lift themselves from the stress and the problem. Right? That's one of the way that we can do. What about the basic difference in Freud and Adler? And their understanding of human beings is different, right? And they are really emphasize, whereas Freud emphasized motivated by the sex and relation. I already told you about. Adler said it motivated by social influence, strive for the superiority. And the social influence, the environment. It's not the developing. That's a part of their one, but a little bit different. But people have no choice while shaping their personality, but Adler is responsible for how they do, right? And present behavior caused by the past, but present behavior shaped by the future. Always, Freud is kind of trying to understand with their past experience, but always he's trying to understand the human being holds past, present, and the future, and that's why shaped by futures. Emphasis on the unconscious, but Adler is really focus on the conscious. So how usually you guys are doing and kind of aware of it themselves, right? Why like this? There's a little bit difference, but the therapeutic, just think about in Freudian psychoanalysis therapies techniques, and then these Adler's techniques are really different. So it really depends on the what. It's a lot of responsibility for the client. It's not just to try to give them answer, but you gotta aware what's the problem and what, and help them develop a healthier lifestyle, which is your social interest, right? And this most technique is really cognitive process, and then you gotta choose and take responsibility for that. Okay, this is your personality psychology and adherence therapy. So that's a quick review. Maybe if you read textbook and maybe a little more explanation, but still I want to know this is one of the way that the people can help human being and help the people who are struggling with life issues, right? And that is the way though. So I hope that you get some insight from this therapeutic counseling, and maybe give you kind of some insight, understanding yourself too. All right. Today we studied about individual psychologies, and then maybe next week is another Carl Jung's, and then he's from the psychoanalytic psychotherapy, and then we'll consider his way to understand the human being. All right, you guys have a great week, and God bless you, and see you next week.